Hello, I'm John Brink, and we are podcasting on the Brink from beautiful downtown Prince George, the capital of northern BC. An amazing day in beautiful northern British Columbia. And for all those people around the world that are considering to go to Canada, make sure you go to BC and do not forget northern BC, an amazing land with lots of lakes, hundreds of lakes in close proximity. You can encounter a caribou, a black bear. Most of them are friendly here, and whatever happens, it's a nature at its best. Today we have an important guest, and her name is Katie Carter.
Hi.
Katie, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, I always wondered, are you from this area?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Prince George.
And are you still here living in Prince George?
No, I actually live in Kelowna, BC right now.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And so you had your schooling here, went to high school and all the other kind of things, and then did you do any other things here before you went to Kelowna, or?
I went to university here. First I went to the college, 2 years there, and then I finished my degree at UNBC.
And what was your degree?
Psychology.
Psychology.
Yeah.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. Just for our guests that are watching, we have amazing learning facilities here. The one is College of New Caledonia, CNC. That is a regional college that have satellites all around northern British Columbia. Amazing institution. And the other one we are so proud of is the University of Northern British Columbia. And it took us collectively here in northern BC a long time to get it off the ground, to create that independent, which was critical, university. Right. And that has just expanded from there on in. Very, very popular. It is the most popular small university in Canada. Mm-hmm. Yes. And then we developed the medical school alongside with it, and what it has done, a lot of the people that finish studying at the university end up working in the region, or at least in northern British Columbia, like you have. And I have a company, that we had a meeting around a boardroom table, and we had about a half a dozen people there. Every single one of them studied here, at the University of Northern British Columbia, including myself, because I have an honorary doctorate, in law from the University of British Columbia.
Oh, wow.
I love it. Wow. So tell me a little bit more about, why did you go pursue psychology?
I think that it really interested me when I was in high school. Okay. I think just like mental health and mindset was something I was always curious about. I feel like I am very emotionally aware, and I wanted to learn more about like myself, but then as well, I wanted to help other people too that maybe were struggling. So then I got into it. I was actually when I started going to the college, I was taking psychology courses and criminology courses. Okay. Because I was interested in both of those things. Okay. And so I was kind of torn between the psychology route and the criminology route. I wanted to either...
Looks in a way they are connected, and in another way they don't, right?
Exactly, yeah. A lot of them were like, there was like... a lot of overlap with the classes that I was taking. Yeah. And then I wanted to get my full degree, and at the college they only had a diploma for criminology. Yeah. And because I wanted my full degree, they didn't have criminology at the university, so I decided to do psychology.
And that then you got a master or a bachelor?
A bachelor,
of psychology from UNBC. Mm-hmm. And you say that somehow it sounds like you had, as many of us do, really, challenging past a bit when you grew up, And is that what kind of, in saying you had to know yourself better?
I think so. Yeah, I wouldn't say I had like a very challenging past, but I did struggle a little bit. My parents got a divorce when I was 7, so I had a harder time adjusting to it, I think.
Yeah.
And then moving into like school, high school, I struggled with like friend groups and socializing, some bullying in like elementary school that may have just kind of transferred over to high school. I have a little bit of social anxiety, so it was definitely hard for me to create connections and friendships and relationships. So I think that I was very introverted, and I still am very introverted. So that's why I wanted to learn more about it.
Yeah. And are you still learning about who is Katie?
I think so, yeah.
And is it kind of revealing to you and saying, I didn't know I had that.
Yeah.
Or I could do that, or was able to do that?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, where I'm at now, when I was growing up, I always thought I would stay in Prince George. I would be a counselor. That's what I wanted to do after I graduated, become like a school psychologist or a counselor, working at a school here in Prince George. And then once my business started, I did everything online, so I decided to kind of move away and just explore. And that was a step that I never thought that I'd ever take.
How long ago did you go to Kelowna?
I actually moved to Vancouver Island first.
Oh, where?
So in Nanaimo.
Nanaimo.
Yeah,
okay.
so after I graduated, I moved to the island. I actually wanted to maybe get another degree or further my education there, just kind of see what opportunities there were. But I had already started my business at the time, so I was kind of growing that, but I wasn't sure if that was going to be stable for me because the industry wasn't as big back then. It was in 2019 or 2020 or 2020 was when I started my business, but I was just a little bit unsure of it. So I was going to further my education, and I ended up not doing that, just focusing on my business. And then I moved from Vancouver Island to Vancouver after a year and a half of being on the island, just because I think that the island was a bit too secluded for me, and I had adopted a dog, so anytime I wanted to travel up to Prince
still got
George,
the dog?
I do have a dog.
What kind of a dog?
She's a boxer lab mix.
Oh.
Yeah.
If you got it here too?
Yeah, I brought her with
taking it
me.
with you, bring it down here.
She's pretty crazy, but
Oh, that's okay, you know. So, but
Yeah.
we have dogs too. I love animals.
Oh,
you know,
yeah?
I just love them, you know. So
aw, she'd love it.
Yeah.
She's
we
pretty
have dogs
sweet.
and horses. So you kind of, then you went to Vancouver. You got a dog, and you know, what's his name?
Winnie. Winnie, yeah.
Wayne?
Like Winnie the Pooh.
Oh yeah, Winnie. Okay. And so then from there on in, you then decided to go to
Kelowna, yeah.
Okay.
Mostly because it's a little bit closer to Prince George, so travel time is a little bit better. I like
a little bit easier.
Yeah, I love to visit family.
It's getting very busy there, though.
It is, yeah. This time of year, very busy.
Yeah.
But when we were living in Vancouver, it was even busier, honestly. Like all year long, it was the traffic, the tourists, and all of that was a little bit overwhelming for me.
Now, a lot of people that are watching us from around the world, I just want to get them kind of in the picture here, that although they're used to me already talking about Canada, very big place, BC, a big province, from north to south, is that in the middle of the province is Prince George, and we are about 750 kilometers north of Vancouver, and then another 750 kilometers north to the Yukon. Next to the Yukon is Alaska, and then also in the middle of the province, east to west, is also about 1,500 kilometers, and again we are in the middle for all intents and purposes. Very beautiful here, lots of lakes, animals you can encounter here. We only have friendly black bears. Oh no, I'm just joking. You always have to be careful with black bears. But don't be surprised if you drive out and you see one or two caribou. All of that is so natural. And probably 100 lakes within 50 miles from here, all around us. And an absolute amazing place. Now, the other place that you mentioned is Nanaimo, is on Vancouver Island. And Vancouver Island is a little bit smaller than Holland, really, but they call it an island, but it's very big. And it's about in the middle. We have also a place every weekend. I'm in North Saanich, in the southern part, and I just love it, just to get a break from my work here. And then when you want to Kelowna is how far from Vancouver, would you say 5 hours, 4.5?
4.5, or
and then
probably 4.
Somewhere around there, right?
Yeah.
And about the same, 4.5, 5 hours from Prince George. So that then brings you a bit, is it about that?
7 hours.
7 hours?
Yeah.
Ooh, it's a
Yeah,
long
but,
way. Yeah. Anyway.
But Vancouver was about 10 hours.
Yeah,
so.
So it brings you much closer. And it's not quite as busy as Vancouver.
No.
Anyway, so that then being said, then in 2020 you took a fairly major step and started your own business. And then let me go back a bit to the time that you were in school. You were kind of struggling being introverted, and then getting kind of bullied because you were not quite the way some of the other people felt you should be or could be, and you took that quite seriously. And and then that kind of stayed with you. Tell me if I'm wrong. With you. And then because your personality is such that you are emotional individual. So am I, actually. And and so that kind of stayed with you, and then you kind of build your rest of your life around it, and saying, I want to see if I can help others that have been bullied because of the way they look, because I believe everybody is beautiful, regardless of it, and and should feel that way. And then at the same time, you started looking at other areas that were extremely important to you, is physical fitness, but in combination with health, diet, and mental fitness.
Yeah.
And you build a business around that, and you became active on the internet, which is still then in the early stages of becoming more and more important, partially because likely of COVID and other things, where all of a sudden interacting on the web or the internet became a lot more accepted and a lot more comfortable, and new businesses started all around that. Yeah. And that's kind of one of the things you do. And you have a lot of people, I saw the number 500, that have already participated in the things that you're doing. So tell me a little bit about, and us that are listening, about your business, as to how evolved, or started to evolve, first mentally and then physically, and then from there on in became, the name is, what is the name again that you use the name, Katie Carter Health and Fitness.
Yeah.
Is the name.
Yeah.
Is that on the web?
Yep.
So if somebody goes into Google Katie Carter Health and Fitness,
it'll come up.
That will come up.
I think katiecarterfitness.com is the website.
So you got the .com, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I just want to make sure we mention it a couple of times, just our guests that are listening, because they want to check you out and see what you do and how. So tell us a bit about that program. So that then became the program. So that's what you're doing today in your business, and you're doing that from Kelowna.
Yeah, so when I started, when I wanted to, my business was kind of created and started because people started reaching out to me because I was sharing my own journey. I was sharing my own like fitness and mental health. I was kind of in like a dark place mentally, and like I struggled with depression and anxiety, and I had gained some weight, and I was kind of at a point where I didn't really recognize myself anymore. I was prioritizing things that weren't necessarily healthy for myself, like mentally or physically. And so I decided to make a change. I think this was in 2018 when I decided to kind of do my own fitness journey, like a mental and physical health journey. And I made incredible progress. I'm really proud of the progress I made.
So that was a big switch for you.
Yeah.
To go, and quite a daring one, because all of a sudden you open yourself right up to the public, and then it always is a question of, will it be successful, or do you, you know, and so did you, once you started recognizing your personal issues in terms of depression, not feeling the self-confidence, and physically, you know, dealing with issues, did you have counseling, or how did you make the switch? Because that was fairly major for you.
Yeah.
Did you seek counseling to help you in that process?
I did. So my mom actually encouraged me to go to counseling. I did when I was younger, when my parents split up, and I hadn't gone back since, but I was just in a place where I was so unhappy with myself. I remember I was crying on my bedroom floor, and my mom came in and she encouraged me. Well, she supports me all the time, but she encouraged me to go talk to a counselor, and I did. I did for a long time, and that's also when I also started like focusing on my nutrition and my physical health, exercising. But I also realized that it wasn't enough at the time, and I went to the doctor, and I also started taking medication for depression and anxiety. So it was kind of a mix of everything, and I think that sometimes it's needed, right? Like sometimes there isn't just like one fix that is gonna help you feel better, and you kind of have to find what works for you.
And it worked for you.
It did, yeah.
But it's still a work in progress, in the sense of, from here on, you're going to build it further. And obviously, whatever message you put together is getting the reactions in the response, which basically tells me the need is much larger and much more frequent than most people even imagine.
Yeah.
Not only limited to females, but also males, you know, and becoming more to the surface all the time.
Yeah, I think people are kind of opening up a little bit more, and it's becoming more like it's normal to talk about it, as it should be, because we all go through it. And I think counseling can really help people understand that, talking to somebody about it and helping you normalize that instead of thinking that there's something wrong with you, because there's not. So yeah, I started sharing about my journey, and then people started reaching out to me for help. And that's when I was in school, so I wasn't even thinking of starting a business at the time.
But at one point you had the, that you started to gain weight.
Yeah.
And added 30 pounds to your weight, and that made you even more self-conscious in a way, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and it was after that that's when I decided like I needed help and I needed to exercise. I needed to start my journey. I needed to make a change.
And not healthy relationships.
Yeah.
In combination with all of that, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And so you had to kind of say no. Obviously, your mom helped you substantially, recognizing that she alone could not do this.
Yeah.
You needed help, right? And and then it was just a question of timing, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then when people started reaching out to me, I thought that maybe it could be something that I started as a job. And this was before COVID. So this was before everything shut down. So I wanted to get my
2018.
Yeah, well, it was about 2019 where
Yeah,
it was
okay.
after I had lost the weight, where people saw my physical progress as well
Right.
as like my mental progress as
Right.
well.
Right.
And then I decided to get certified as a personal trainer so I could work in a gym and help people out in the gym. And I got a job at Orange Theory Fitness. But then I never really got started with personal
Did you already
training.
have your fitness then degree, or
No.
no? That was before you did that, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah. That was before. And then as soon as I got my certification, so it was in March 2020, that's when all of the gyms closed.
Yeah.
So I didn't really know what to do.
Nobody.
Because nobody knew what to do. So it was tough, but
Bit of a challenge there, right?
It was, and online coaching wasn't. It was a thing back then, but it wasn't as popular because people would prefer to see somebody in person.
Probably COVID changed all of that.
Yes.
Forever.
Oh,
So
yeah.
COVID had liabilities to it and saying, oh my God, but it had also good parts to it because it changed all of that.
Yeah.
Forever.
Yes. Yeah, and right now, like the industry is very saturated. There's so many online coaches out there. But when I first started, there weren't very many.
No.
Not at all. And so many people were reaching out to me, and I was so busy. Like I didn't even know it was possible to be that busy and for people to...
So you had to kind of develop a business model, because now it's a business, right? And then it becomes a question, okay, so katiecarter.com, okay, what do we do now?
Yeah.
Now, does everybody has different needs? How do you create a business around it? Is then the challenge. Obviously you found ways, but it was not like, say, I look at this one, that one, this one, and the other one, and then I'll figure it out from there and off the race. You had to kind of invent part of it.
I did, yeah. I didn't have any like education or experience or like certification or anything to, for one, start a business. I don't know. I mean, I've learned over the years how to run a business.
The hard way.
Yeah.
Which is maybe the right way, right?
Maybe.
Yeah.
But I knew nothing about it, and I didn't know how to be an online coach, so it was something that I did kind of have to create. Right. And it did take me a while. Like within the first year, I obviously, like I had to make changes to my systems. I had to make upgrades. I had to figure out what worked best for myself and for my clients so that they could be successful. And over time, obviously, there was some trial and error, but right now I think that it's all working out very well.
Yeah. So do you have other people involved? I think I saw something like 2 other ladies are involved, or?
I actually have 3 other assistant coaches who work with clients.
Yeah.
And I have...
Under your umbrella.
Yeah. And then I have a nutritionist who...
A what?
A nutritionist.
Yeah.
A holistic nutritionist. And she doesn't work with clients one-on-one, but she does recipes, meal plans.
I like that.
Yeah, and she's also a brain health coach, and she does... we do 2 mindset calls, group mindset calls with all of our clients every month.
So in any event, so you have 3 other persons with you under the umbrella of Katie.com, katiecarter.com, and then from there on in, so you have all these different things that you now offer.
Yeah.
It's not only, so what are the ones? It's not only health and mental fitness.
Yeah, so we do, when I started with like workout programs and creating those for clients, and then I got into one-on-one coaching, so it's workouts, nutrition, and mindset, a mix of all of those.
Yeah.
And then we have ones that are more focused on nutrition or more focused on exercise, depending on like what the client needs.
Right.
And we also have group coaching. So group coaching is just a little less accountability, but still where they're able to be in like a community and have support and accountability from coaches as well as other clients who are doing the program.
Right.
And then we have meal plans as well that our nutritionist creates for clients too.
So on the nutrition then, how much do you mentioned earlier you have a special nutrition that does, how did you call that again?
She's a holistic nutritionist.
So what does that really mean? From a nutrition to me, it's just somebody says, put potatoes in and this in and then that and then there you go. No, no, that's what it means to me, but it doesn't obviously.
Holistic kind of like encompasses everything. So it takes into account like lifestyle, it takes into account like hormone health, their goals, any...
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's just a kind of... Because I think it is important. I mean, our coaching itself, like we try to encompass everything. It's not just about working out and eating vegetables.
I agree.
Yeah.
You know, I go to the gym and I have a trainer. I'm 82 and a half. I use the halves now because I don't know how long it's going to... No, I'm just... So in 2017, I started working out already, and everybody needs a trigger to get their attention, right? So, and I think it was 2008, when I got diverticulitis, and I don't know if you know what it is. It's where you have a breach in your colon, and then the poisons go through your insides. You have about 48 hours to figure it out or get it down, because otherwise it will start making you very ill and you probably won't live then.
Right.
So I got an operation that took about 20 centimeters out of my colon. It's fine, from there on in. But it sent me a message that I should be more aware of my diet. My wife is a vegan. And always trying to convince me to do it. I was doing pretty good, but it kind of got me the attention. I used to go to the gym, right? So every New Year evening we say, okay, well, from here on out I'm going to go to the gym, buy the membership, go there for about 2 weeks, and then I get 100 reasons to say why I can't go, right? And then we'll do the same thing and again next year. So I knew I had to do something. So I started going to the gym, started training out with a trainer. And then after about training for 7 or 8 years, somebody said, hey John, have you ever thought about competing? I said, me? And he said, yeah. And I said, So I talked to my trainer about it. I said, well, why not? And I started then focusing on training bodybuilding and physique.
Right.
And so then I competed.
Did you compete?
Yeah. And then I competed in Prince George when we had doing that here. Came in second in bodybuilding, third in physique.
Wow.
Which qualified me for the provincials. Came in third in physique, second in bodybuilding, which qualified me for the nationals and the Arnolds.
Wow.
Not bad.
Yeah.
I was
How old
70.
Were you?
I think 78.
Wow. That's amazing.
And so then obviously COVID came.
Yeah.
But now I'm training again, so, and again, I want to go again compete in 24. So I'm training again now as a trainer, getting ready for competing in 24. Then I'm getting close to 84. And, so I like that, so, and I take it very, very serious. And, and now in terms of diet, I call myself 80-20.
Right.
And my wife, very particular what I use. I'm very sensitive to, I use a dog, Tracy Lotz actually, is my dog. And then I have also a naturopathic dog, both of them. And we do things that are different from a health perspective, more looking forward to probably things that you're thinking about and talking about. The other thing that to at least give you a better idea of who I am in a way other than what you already know is that I was born in Holland. I was not very successful academically. I failed grade 3. I don't know anybody that failed grade 3, to be honest with you. And then I failed grade 7 3 times. And then they said, what are you going to do with this guy? My parents were beautiful people, and but then they advised them to send me to a mental challenging school. Fortunately, they didn't do that. So when I was 14, and my dad was in the lumber, my grandfather was a master carpenter, they sent me to become a furniture maker.
Oh yeah.
At 14, and so unfortunately, what happens then, and you can relate to that. When I was going to school and I failed every year, it kind of made me a bit of a, people were hard on me a lot of times.
Yeah.
Then I became a laborer, and the town that we lived from the school that everybody was going to was about 10 kilometers, and they would go on the bikes, and everybody biked together. When I had to go to become a furniture maker or training for furniture maker, my dad took me on a Sunday. The day that school came out was Friday, then there was holidays. Well, not for me. We went to the store on Sunday, a friend of my dad, and then they got me 3 sets of coveralls. The coveralls, I was fairly small, so I had them all rolled up here, and the crotch was hanging here. That's modern now, but it wasn't then.
Yeah.
So, and then I could not bike any longer with my friends because now I was a laborer, less than, right? So, and kind of turned into, I was a happy-go-lucky guy, but also extrovert, introvert.
Yeah.
I was a loner a lot of times, and and then I felt a lot of times I was a failure in Holland, because what happens in Holland that if you apply for a job, then saying, okay, where are your diplomas? Well, I have no diplomas, so then I started working. Then I wanted to start totally new because I felt like a failure. And I thought that I'd go to Canada. That's where I always wanted to go. We were liberated by the Canadians in April the 12th, 1945. And I always knew from that point forward I would go to the land of my heroes. The second dream that I had is to go into the lumber business. And then, obviously, I felt like a failure in Holland. I thought I'd start over new in Canada, and so that I can prove to myself that I can do it.
Right.
And, so I did that when I was 24. I left Holland with $150, 1 suitcase, 3 books, couldn't speak the language, didn't know a soul, didn't have a job. But I knew I wanted to go to British Columbia. That's where the forest industry is. And my dream was to build a lumber mill. So when I came here off the bus, and in July of 1965, my employees did this actually, I had in my pocket this $25.47 to show to everybody else around there. But what it says underneath it, what is my foundation? Attitude, avoid the negative, passion, find something you love, and live the dream. And then this one is work ethic. And so when I came off the bus here, I had $25.47. Then got an initial job as cleaner man in Quanell. Then got a job here, piling lumber, and all of those other kind of things. And then I was in a hurry getting my own mill. So then there was an opportunity to become a manager of a mill. And if I was there for 3 years or 5 years, I would get 1/3 ownership of the mill.
Oh, wow.
The mill was in Watson Lake, Yukon.
Oh.
Have you been in Watson Lake?
No, I haven't.
No. If it snows in July, and you don't know if it is late or early. So I was there for 5 years. Fantastic experience. Mm-hmm. Then I came back here, and and this was in 1972, and then again started working here, and then in 1975, I started off Brink Forest Products, that company, with $25,000 from the bank, 3 employees that I worked as long as I could stay awake, 7 days a week, and then a number of things happened to me. Is that I still felt like a failure.
Right.
And the second one was that I was not a good communicator. Anytime there were more than 3 people around in my own setting, I would not be able to interact because I didn't have the self-confidence, and I was not very good doing that.
Right.
And then my ex-sister-in-law, at one point she said to me, I want you to go to Toastmasters. I said, well, what is that? Well, that's where they interact and talk. I said, are they going to ask me any questions? She said, no, just sit there and watch it. So are you familiar with Toastmasters?
I've heard of it, but I'm not sure.
It's very interesting. So anyway, the first time that I went down and somebody said, hey, John, tell me who you are. And I said, oh, my God, because that was not going to happen. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so then I did go to Toastmasters for the second meeting. I stayed there for 10 years and became a distinguished Toastmasters. That changed my life in terms of, I could not imagine, Katie, being a public speaker. Now I'm a professional speaker, doing podcasts and then special presentations all over the place.
Yeah.
And it's gaining that confidence. Mm-hmm. Then the other thing that happened to me happened in 1997, when I walked into one of the stores here close by on 4th Avenue. And I walked in there and I opened the book and I looked at the book. There it was driven to distraction. I opened the book. I don't know why I did that. And it said ADHD. And I said, oh my God, now I know who I am. So what I did, I bought the book. I was looking at it for a long time, and the guy that owned the store, they said, I'm going to buy it? No, he didn't say that, but I looked at it for a long time, then wrote in it in Dutch, now I finally know who I am. Mm-hmm. And, and so then it took me another 5 years before I even went to my own doc and talk about it. And, and then I walked into his office and said, he was a friend and also delivered my 2 daughters, And I walked in and he said, why are you here? I said, I think I got ADHD. Mm-hmm. And so we checked it out, and I do. Right. And that was the next thing that now I knew that that's likely, what caused me to not having any attention in the classroom a lot of times. Right. And it opened a lot of doors to make changes for me. Mm-hmm. But in the meantime, this was 1997 already, so I felt I had to write about it. First about my journey, not so much that's why I did this book, is that Against All Odds, it's not about how successful I am. It's about all the challenges along the way, and then staying the course, never give up, and then that leads then eventually to whatever you want success to be.
Yeah, I think those challenges are the most important parts of any journey.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
And then the other part is that with ADHD, I felt that, you know, like it was in 2019 that, you know, I got the honorary degree for Doctors of Laws. And during that presentation that I did at the university, I talked about the inner child, for one, as being during the war years. The war years were difficult for my mom because my dad went into the Dutch army in April of 1940. I was born in November 1940, and then the winter 1945, 44, 45 was extremely difficult. They called it the hunger winter. A lot of kids died, a lot of older people died. And we as kids would go every day with, my sister was 1 year older than me, my brother 2 years older. We had gunny sacks. We go into the railroad yards, pick up anything edible and burnable. Because the Germans wouldn't shoot us. They would just boot us one in the back, and then we were back the next day. But it was a very, very tough time. And you know, and at nights what would happen is the bombers, up to 300 bombers in the air, would fly virtually every night over our house in our area to bomb Germany. So it was a difficult time.
Yeah.
So the effect of it was, at least on me, is the inner child, the fear of losing that parent, the only one, and then the other one, PTSD, and then add to that ADHD. So you know, that I then found out later. And then I felt I had to write about this, because with all the things that I've been able to do, all of a sudden things then became clearer that ADHD is really a superpower. It allows me to do all these things. And then Toastmasters, in a way, and some of the other things, gave me the confidence that I can interact. Up to that point, I've seen a lot of, because I was in Toastmasters for 10 years. Toastmasters is all over Canada, all over the world, really. Has about, I would say, 400,000 active members that stay in Toastmasters for a certain period. Not everyone goes as high as I did to DTMs, and probably 4 or 5 million around the world, if not more. Less than 1% of them go to the level of DTM. And you know, it gives you that confidence of communicating and the practicing of communicating, and even more importantly, becoming effective listeners. And so for me, between finding the book on ADHD and then finding this part, I knew I had to write about this. Have you seen this book before?
I have seen it. I haven't read it though.
Okay, I'm going to give you a copy of it, signed copy of it.
Thank you.
And then this one as well. I'll give you a copy of that as well.
Okay, thank you.
And then I'm doing another one. Amazing, I was grade 7. You know, I'm a very good writer and I'm very good at numbers. But obviously ADHD is attention was always a problem to me. I live in a different, I sit all day in the classroom and I may as well not be there. I'm in another world.
Right.
You know, and you know, so the other book that is coming out in early July is Finding Your Passion, Living the Dream. You did, right? And so, and then from there on in, becoming much more proactive. For me, I could not possibly imagine, neither could you, you know, that if somebody would have asked me when I came here, even at the time when I already, everybody said, oh, you're so successful in the business and blah, blah, blah and all. I didn't feel that way. I felt I was a failure.
Yeah.
And even then, and you know, and this was in 1990. I already had the mill for nearly 20 years. and
Right.
even then still felt that way.
Yeah.
It was not until I found out this part by coincidence, and the other one, in becoming much more able in feeling confidence and communicating, that it opened up at my age of 80, virtually, when I started podcasting. You know, we are probably, I take the liberty to blow my own horn, but we're probably the most active podcaster in, if not in Canada, certainly in Western Canada. You know, we have times that January, February, March, on average, we had 5 million views on our monthly on our social media once.
Wow.
And so the point that I want to make along the way, I found it interesting that you said self-confidence, and then and then anxiety. I went through the same things. I had a period in my book that tells everything where I was drinking too much, more than what's good for me, was smoking, and used Xanax, prescribed, that you may be familiar with it. My anxiety was like, I felt like this, and became addicted to it, and then drank too much, smoked, and then my wife now, but then still, before we were married, dumped me, and that was a wake-up call, and gave me a slap as a 2x4, more or less. And so I stopped drinking, smoking, and Xanax all in 1 week. The hardest one was Xanax, and then, since the time I've never done that again. So, but what I want to share with you is that all the things that I hear you saying, in a way, in very many ways, I've gone through the same, but much longer than I believe you have or did, because up to the time that I was 90, up to the time that it was in 1990 when I went to Toastmasters, I was more than 50 years old. I still felt exactly like that. I was a failure.
Yeah.
And it was only then that I could start interacting, feel confidence, and start to kind of do those things.
Yeah, I think it's hard growing up and getting into something that you never thought you would be doing. Like you said, when you were younger, you never thought that you would be where you're at now or doing what you are now. And even though I've only been doing this for over 3 years now, it's still not what I thought I'd be doing. And I do feel just like a failure. Like, it's imposter syndrome is something that I feel a lot, mostly because, I don't have the background in business. So I feel like as a businesswoman, I'm a fraud almost, because I don't have that education.
How could you possibly say that? Because you got a degree from both from CNC and from UNBC. I failed grade 3 and failed grade 7 3 times. Today, I manage 10 companies. We employ 400 people. We're the largest secondary manufacturer in virtually North America. And then the whole forest industry in British Columbia has the Council of Forest Industry, mainly big companies. I was their vice chair, the longest serving director.
Right.
And so I have no degree in business. I don't even have a degree in all the other things that, if say high school, well, I never got there. So but what I do have, which is the most valuable one, is experience. And that's the advantage that I have over a lot of other people. And then believing in myself that I can do it. And I will do it, and creating that confidence. And then that then got me to the point, at a late point in life, when I'm writing books. And that where we are now at 82 and a half, we are in the process of creating a major internet platform that will go around the world. And I believe that that's what we will do. I'm already in the process of laying it out, but it will be and it will be extremely successful, I
Wow.
believe.
Yeah.
And so what I'm saying is that everything is possible.
It is. Yeah. And definitely believing in yourself is basically all you need. You can do
Absolutely.
anything.
You can do anything,
Yeah.
and to have that confidence, right?
Yeah.
And then be an effective communicator. To me, what helped me was Toastmasters.
Yeah.
And all the people that I've seen going into Toastmasters, the ones that they fear the most is public speaking. And that's true. I did too. Horror, they sooner die than have any public speaking. Where when I first came into Toastmasters, it just the thought when my ex-sister-in-law, if they ask me questions, I'm going to be out of there, So, and then kind of go through it all the 10 years that I was there, become a good listener, because Toastmasters is partially about speaking, but mainly about becoming a good listener.
Yeah.
And then the other things, and then knowing that becoming a good speaker, like I'm saying this to you so that the things that we share, you and me, in a way. Today I did a keynote presentation to probably 30, 40 people, all very highly skilled in the area. I had to do a keynote presentation of 45 minutes and then a Q&A of another 45 minutes behind it. That was after lunch today. Then just before you, I did another podcast with a person in ADHD from Tennessee, in the United States. And then obviously I'm doing a podcast with you. And I like to know the background of the people that I'm interacting with, like with yourself, and and then make it interesting for you and for me. But nothing anywhere near all of this. And then having done 129 podcasts online, then I had no idea that I could even do that. I thought that if I go to the mill, I'd be scared to go into a restaurant because maybe people would talk to me and I have to react.
Yeah.
I did not have that confidence,
Yeah. Me too. And this is the first time I've ever done any sort of public speaking, which is something that I feel like I need to do more of. I need to step outside of my comfort zone and put myself out there.
You feel comfortable in our conversation?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. But I just need to do it more.
Yeah.
To put myself out there.
So, for me, Toastmasters was the vehicle at the time. And all the time that I'm not saying that anybody should or shouldn't, but it's one vehicle that would help in my case, that if I look back on it, I cannot think of any singular individual. I've formed clubs and I've been involved in it all those years and all the time, never seen anybody as bad as me that was so most unlikely that they would be successful there. And it changed my life, so
right.
in that particular area.
Right.
But the key is to have that confidence. You've been successful, you are exceptionally successful in your platform that you have created on your own. And then, and then you have this unique vehicle that deals with physical health, mental health, diet, all those things in combination.
Yeah.
You have the right training behind you in terms of your Bachelor of Psychology degree from UNBC. And obviously, since you started it from the ground up, that's the hardest way. Same as me and the company that I have on River Road. I had to physically pull it out of the ground, and with all the challenges personally that I already had with it.
Yeah.
And but always believing that I will do this. That there is nothing that will stop me.
Yeah.
And so now I'm at the stage in life that That's why this is so important that I share this with them. Not so much hurrah, hurrah, John, how successful he is. It's not about that. It's in spite of it all, going through all the challenges, I want to share that with other people and saying, these are all the things that happen. And in spite of that, every day, if I get up around 5:30 in the morning, I always think I'm late. And I'm always looking forward to what happens during the day. I always make my bed before I get up, and I still work probably 12 hours a day at least. And and I want to share that with other people as much as I can.
Right.
And then this one here is unique because this is so new that in my circle more and more people know about it because I talk about it a lot. But around the world, that it is still very much a stigma related to this.
Yeah.
I've been in settings where, if I talk about ADHD, I had to do a presentation here, to about 20 or 25 business people, and there were 3 presenters. All 3 of them were lumber related. And I was the last speaker. So, so when the other 2 talked about lumber, I thought, well, that's enough about lumber. I'll talk about books and ADHD. So that's what I did. And they liked it. And there were 2 guys that said, I've never told anybody this, but I have ADHD.
Yeah.
More and more and more people are like that. Frequency of occurrence very high, and I call it a superpower.
I think like all mental health like struggles that people do go through and deal with is a superpower, and I think that there is a stigma around it. But what you said, once you figured out that you have it, it kind of opened up your world almost, because you understand yourself more.
Exactly.
I think instead of trying to hide
and create confidence.
Yeah.
I'm okay. I'm okay with my background. I'm okay with I'm a good person. I say everybody is beautiful in their own way.
Yeah.
And then respect others and all the other basic things. Love animals and all of that. Be a good person. And then at the same time, that does not mean that you cannot be a good businessman. You can, or woman. You can.
Yeah.
You can do all of that.
And I think people think that it's a negative thing, that it's a bad thing, but it's actually something that you can use to your advantage. The more you know about yourself, the better.
No question about that. And what I say with this is that this not only relate to ADHD people, the obvious one, it also relates to people that have been involved in trauma. I'm thinking First Nations, for instance, and that then for people that have been involved in trauma, they are not very good usually at sitting in classrooms for 4 years and studying, and other people that are basically slow learners, so all those things to me are important, and so that's kind of
Yeah, and like you said, like the challenges are the most important part of the journey, and that's something that we like to tell all of our clients too when it comes to their mental health and physical health, is just instead of being focused on the end point and the success that you will achieve, focus on those challenges.
Exactly.
And overcoming them.
Exactly. And more and more people are more receptive to that, especially after COVID.
Yeah.
For one, people are more comfortable with the internet.
Yeah.
And using that as a tool, and that other entrepreneurs like you, like me, are interacting via the internet more and more effective. It's a better way of interacting with your client base. And the other part about it is the world is wide open to you.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to connect with people all over the world. I mean, we have clients in the States, we have we've had a couple clients in Australia, in the Netherlands, actually. I think we had a couple.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's so much more like accessible, flexible for everyone's schedules, and you can just provide more resources and more support and more accountability to your clients and their needs, because everyone's needs are different, everyone's schedules are different, the support and accountability that they need is different. So that's why we like to kind of adjust our coaching based on what those clients need.
No question. And so katiecarter.com is the website.
katiecarterfitness.com.
Oh, katiecarterfitness.com is the website.
Yeah.
Then give people a basic idea about structurally what it looks like and what kind of cost approximately are involved.
We have a few, because we have a few different options. The reason why over time, like over the past 3 years, I've added in other options for coaching, like the group coaching, as well as we just do like personalized programs without the accountability, is to be able to fit within everyone's budget. So I think our lowest price would be, like $25 a month for just a basic program.
And how often do they, hypothetically speaking, how often do they watch the program? Once a month or once a day, or once a week?
Well, it depends on the client and kind of what program they choose and the amount of accountability, but they'll get either like daily workouts that they can look at, and for our programs with more accountability, they get weekly accountability.
Is it well affordable for the average individual?
Yeah.
Is that the attraction to it?
Yeah, definitely. Compared to personal training, you actually get a lot more for what you're paying for.
Yeah.
But we do have like higher programs, like higher priced programs for those who are wanting more accountability.
Yeah.
Where they're able to access their coach more, have more resources.
Yeah. And more personal.
Yeah, more personal. Yeah. So we have some that are just like basic programs, and we have some that are just like completely personalized to the client. So their needs, their wants, their equipment that they have access to, their diet, their habits, whatever their struggles are in life, like everything is custom, personalized to them.
So from here on in, it will still further expand. You're still looking at katiecarterfitness.com as something that is a program in motion.
I think so. Yeah. I'm always trying to find ways to offer more to our clients and figure out what works best for everybody. And I definitely am wanting to grow. I started on my own. It was just me for the first couple of years before I started hiring other assistant coaches, other people with different like specializations. We have, like I said, our nutritionist and brain health coach, but we also have an athletic therapist. We have a registered nurse, a strength and conditioning coach. So we kind of have the full, like, we want to cover all bases when it comes to health and fitness, because we know that it's a lifestyle. Like, we aren't just wanting to help our clients like lose weight or work out and eat healthy. We want to teach them how to change their life and change their lifestyle into a healthier one that is better for their mental health, mostly because that's the one thing that people do struggle with the most.
So a couple of things that I find, just a comment to you, is I think you're a good communicator.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, in my mind, so certainly not something like I was, you're an effective communicator, you have the confidence, and then I think you got the model, and then you have the background, I think, about what you did at college, even was it psychology and criminology, whatever it was, all those tools have served you well going forward and will serve you well in the future. And and then the whole thing on the internet has just started. I've been doing quite a bit of research because we are going very actively involved on the internet site, that it has just started for all intents and purposes.
Yeah, it's getting big now.
Yeah, getting bigger now,
It is.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sign this to you, to Katie. Best. I'll be still on, guys. Okay, Patty, you've been sitting so far away. Why don't you sit next to us for a minute? Your hair is good. So, Patty, obviously, I got 2 books for you as well. Sit closer. Yeah. You know her.
Actually, thank you so much.
So those are the 2 books for you too.
Oh,
So I enjoyed the podcast with your daughter.
Thank you.
She's amazing. So and,
Thank you.
and we'll have to stay in touch.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, thank you so much.
I'll give you a big hug afterwards, but
Okay.
we're all hooked up here. Patty,
Okay.
nice having you. Thank you very much.